Okay, let's talk about some false news. I saw this yesterday, and I can't leave it alone. I can't let it go. Um, I made a post about a week ago from my Facebook memories, and it was 6 years ago that I had um, stopped following local news. In West Virginia, that's WOWK, WCHS, WSAZ. Um, Then I got back on WOWK for a while just so I could troll people because it was fun, but I finally got to the end of it. Um, why would I do that? Well, I did that because I don't trust them. Um, and you got to understand this is not new. This is not some kind of Trump fake news thing. It goes back to like 1999 when I had been a truck driver for a couple of years, and Channel 13, the CBS affiliate, had done this um, expose on trucks, and it was very scary and it was very ominous, and I remember being home at that time, and I watched it, and I remember thinking, yeah, but none of that's true. I mean, it's kind of true and sort of true, but it was just so overblown and exaggerated and meant to make people scared of trucks. Well, obviously I was very sensitive to that because I was in an industry where the state and people wanting the state uh, to act was, trying to regulate me based on this kind of nonsense. And so that that started making me question how much truth they were telling. Now, it was still another 10 years or so, because I was at that right after that, I started getting immersed in talk radio. And I got pulled into the talk radio cult of being triggered all the time. And I would listen to that crap 16 hours a day. And it was like 2009, 2010 before I finally started to break away from it. Okay, so now here we are a decade later, 10 years, and I don't consume corporate news. And by corporate news, I mean Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, whatever. Um, Obviously, I'm exposed to um, much of this reporting secondhand because I follow lots of independent journalists that are out there. If you want to see people that take what's happening and report on it, that's still possible in 2020. Um, you know, I mean, I'm sitting right now in a red truck in Ohio at a truck stop. Well, if someone wanted to report the fact, they could do that. They say, "Oh, well, and there he is. He's sitting in a red truck at a truck stop in Ohio." But that's not what the news media does. They have to give you some description that is meant to get you. Oh, he's driving a red truck, and it's this kind of truck, and that means he's this, and it's. I just got so tired of that crap. Identity politics. News reporting in a way that is meant to invoke an emotional reaction. Okay, so that's the historical context for why I don't trust the news. And I didn't trust the news long before Donald Trump came along and started screaming fake news. Did I think that was funny? Hell yes, I did. Okay, so let's just stick to 2020. So back in May, I went to Charleston for a freedom rally, and there was like 25 other people there. But that's where I met Marshall Wilson for the first time. And it wasn't long after that. And Marshall Wilson, if you don't know, is a delegate in the West Virginia House of Delegates from Berkeley County, District 60, elected as a Republican, left the Republicans, became an independent, and has kind of been the lightning rod. He's the guy that Jim Justice mentioned in some of his press conferences. And Marshall has been a thorn in Jim Justice's side the entire time he's been in office. So Marshall gets with a guy named John Bryant, who is a civil rights attorney in West Virginia, and he does a video podcast called Freedom is Scary. You can find him at thecivilrightslawyer.com. He's on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He's a young guy. He's very well versed in the Constitution, and he loves to take on the state. So John Bryan files the lawsuit, a writ of mandamus, which was meant to try to force the governor, using the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals, force the governor to call a special session of the legislature. This was about getting the government to behave as the documents that created it said it should behave. Okay? It wasn't about deciding, is the virus real? Is it not real? Should we wear masks? Should we not wear masks? It was about getting the government to behave the way that it was intended to behave. Because we either, A, we have a constitutional republic with separation of powers and separate but equal branches, or we don't. You can't have both. You either have a constitutional republic or you have a dictatorship. There's no in between. One or the other. Pick one. If we're going to pick one, then let's pick one. If we're going to have executive orders and the executive at least behaves as if it has the authority to lock us up, whether or not that's what he says, but that's how he behaves. Okay, then throw away the Constitution. Stop talking about the Constitution. Stop talking about the Bill of Rights. Start talking about the Declaration. Stop waving your American flag around the place like it means something, because it doesn't. So, John Bryan sues the governor. All right, the Supreme Court's like, whatever. So, then we get to July, and the governor issues a mask mandate. A business in Hurricane, where I grew up, my hometown, said, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're not going to force our customers. Obviously, if they want to wear a mask, they can wear a mask. That's fine. But we are going to exercise our God-given natural right to property, and we're not going to try to force this mandate on our customers. So the Facebook post blows up. People from California, from 3,000 miles away are commenting on this. So we went down there. We, our family, we went with friends. I had never eaten there. I mean, I'd known the place was there, but I'd never gone there. Well, we went down there to support them and say, hey, we're with you. So the health department, the Putnam County Health Department, comes down and starts harassing them. Now, it's one thing to come down and say, let's make sure that you're safe. But what they did was harassment. So I sent John Bryan an email. And I'm like, hey, can you help this business? He's like, have him email. So I sent the contact information on. They got together. John has now filed a federal lawsuit against the governor. I'm losing the terminology, but it's basically the governor had ignored it up until yesterday. Now, the judge ordered the defendant to respond by yesterday because the court hearing is Monday. Okay, now listen to me. I'm a public school graduate. I have no advanced education, but I can understand that a lawsuit was filed, a response was ordered, and a hearing was scheduled. Okay, that's not difficult, right? That's easy to understand. A lawsuit was filed. Anybody can file a lawsuit. I mean, you can file a lawsuit, pay the fee, file the papers. Doesn't mean it's going anywhere, but that's back to that constitutional right. You have a right to file a lawsuit, federal, state, city, whatever. You can do that. No guarantee of an outcome, but you have an absolute fundamental, inalienable right to file a lawsuit and to redress the government. So, lawsuits filed, response is ordered, hearing is scheduled, response is given. Enter WSAZ News. This is a screenshot. Now, this popped up yesterday, and I thought, because I follow John. Again, I don't follow WSAZ. I don't know what they post because I don't consume their content. But this pops up because John shared it, John Bryan. I see this federal judge rules against restaurant owners in mask mandate lawsuit. And I thought, well, wait a minute. John told everybody, like the day before, that the response had been ordered and that the governor had to respond. And then WSAZ says, oh, the judge ruled against him. And I thought, well, that's nonsense. So I go and I read the article. Like an idiot, I didn't screenshot it. I read the article and I'm reading and I'm going, but there's no way that happened because the hearing is not until Monday. This is Friday. It's still like 3 days away, 4 days at the time of the article. So then John comments and he calls fake news, and a bunch of other people pile into the comment section. What I realize is that WSAZ News does a copy and paste job from the governor's response, then posts an article on their website and their Facebook page that says that the judge ruled based on the defendant's response. So the comment section blows up. Well, I had been getting like likes and responses on my comment, and I went to check one of them, and oh, this post is no longer available. So I go over to the Facebook page. I look and look, it's gone. WSAZ has wiped it from their Facebook page. Now, at first, I'm like, okay, well, that's correct. I mean, it should be taken down because it's blatant misinformation. However, I've seen plenty of other times on all of these news websites, they'll do updates to a story. Let's say there's a car wreck, right? Well, the first thing all they know is there's a car wreck in South Charleston, right? And then later you'll check the same link, the same story, and it'll say, all right, 3 vehicles were involved in a wreck, and the first responders arrived. All right, no, nothing other known. And then they find out, okay, well, no one was injured, and then they'll update that. But they keep updating the same link. You go to the link, the Facebook page stays there, the link stays there. They just continue to update it. So this morning I'm curious, and I go to the Facebook page again, can't find it anywhere. No mention whatsoever of the federal lawsuit. Now, mind you, in that comment section yesterday, there's a whole bunch of people going, yeah, that's what they get, and that's what they ought to get, and the judge ought, and I'm going, but that's not what happened. It literally did not happen. So this morning I go to WSAZ's website and I search Bridge Cafe, and boom, up pops 2 articles. The first one from back in September when the lawsuit was filed, and then looky here. The same article has now been updated to say the headline's completely changed. The picture's the same. Let's look. All right, see the picture's the exact same. The thumbnail, except now the headline has changed. Governor responds to restaurant owners in mask mandate lawsuit. Okay, congratulations, WSAZ. You corrected an incorrect story. The problem is all the people that watch your news program and follow your Facebook page have no idea that this change has taken place. So the big picture here is when someone comes at me with information, and they say, oh, well, this happened, and that happened, and that happened, and that happened, and you better do this because that. And I'm going, but where did your information come from? Because if it came from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, why in the world? Y'all, it's 2020. Why in the world would you trust the news at this point? Any news, including Fox News, by the way. It's freaking 2020. It's not like they've never been caught in a lie. Now granted, please understand, I've been on a 10-year journey. My deconstruction began long, long ago. And I know there's people, look, what I'm about to say, okay? Trigger warning. Okay, get ready. Because what I'm about to say is going to hurt some feelings, okay? But 10 years ago when my deconstruction began, I started verifying things that I heard because I began to hear opposing and dissenting opinions and information. And my first response was, well, that's bull crap. I've never heard that before. And then I'd go look it up and, oh, well, guess what? They lied to us about World War I. They lied to us about World War II. They lied to us about Vietnam. They lied to us about Korea. They lied to us about Kuwait and Desert Storm. They lied to us about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They lied to us about Syria. They lied to us about Gaddafi. They lied to us about Lebanon. They've lied to us about Russia. They've lied to us about China. But now, well, it's different. They're telling the truth this time. Really. So here you have an organization and all of its entanglements, multinational corporations, the federal state, and now the several states that are all entangled with one goal and one mission, and they have at least 150-year track record of doing nothing but lie to us about everything. For 150 years, they've lied to us about everything. Oh, but now, oh, but well, this is really important. They wouldn't lie to us about this. No, they wouldn't lie to us about this, would they? You know, they wouldn't they wouldn't lie to us about the testing. You know, they wouldn't lie to us about the who died of what and how many. You know, um, I'm gonna go on the fly here just a second. Let me do a quick Google search. I'm going to be searching for Madeleine Albright. 500,000. Okay. And you'll just have to bear with me for a moment as I grab a screenshot. Oh, where'd it go? Well, unfortunately, it wants to take a minute. There we go. So this is from YouTube. Took me just a second to get to it. Let me save this, save that. Let me go back to this and this. And I'm going to touch here, a photo. And hopefully this doesn't look dumb. There it is. Oh, Madeleine Albright, the deaths of 500,000 Iraqi children was worth it for Iraq's non-existent WMDs. Leslie Stahl asked Madeleine Albright on 60 Minutes. She said the reports are that 500,000 children have died in Iraq. This was 1996 because of the sanctions imposed on Saddam Hussein because of Kuwait, which was largely made up by a PR firm in New York. But the deaths of 500,000 children was worth it. Worth it. Are you fucking serious? They killed 500,000 children. She didn't say, oh, well, I don't believe those numbers are incorrect. She didn't deny it. She just said, yeah, we believe it was worth it. So please understand that when you say 250,000 have died and we have to shut everything down, they killed 500,000 children. We didn't shut them down. Of course, we don't care because those people don't matter. It's those people over there on the other side of the planet where they can go kill 50 million people in the last 75 years, and we don't give a damn. Now, of course, we're finally getting kind of a clue that they're trying to muzzle our faces and shut down our businesses, and we go, oh, maybe they are an evil organization that shouldn't be paid attention to. Y'all, if you'll break away from this corporate corporate. Think of how, you may be brainwashed in a way to not respect or to respect corporations because you understand business is noble. I mean, business is how we get every good thing in our lives is brought to us by private business, and nothing good comes from the state ever. So we understand that on kind of a fundamental level. But then we give these giant multinational corporations a complete pass. And then those giant multinational corporations get laws passed that benefit them and enrich their profits. But of course, we're too busy being distracted by abortion and trying to tell gay people they can't get married and transgender bathrooms and the war on drugs and all this nonsense. And we're so brainwashed that we can't see what they're doing because we don't care. We don't care. We just don't care. We want politicians to walk up to us and tell us the prescribed number of lines. Oh, I'm for abortion, and I'm against this, and I'm for that. And you say, oh well, I mean, my God, West Virginia, for the love of all that is good and kind, you have a Democrat. You have a dude that won the governor's office as a Democrat, couldn't get his budget passed, so he switched to Republican, and nothing about him changed. His economic principles didn't change. His view of government didn't change. His view of the economy didn't change. Nothing changed but the letter beside his name. And almost 500,000 people in the state of West Virginia went, yeah, I'm going to give him another 4 years. He's a proven liar. He is a proven crook. He is a proven narcissist. He is an authoritarian opportunist. We got to stop this. We have to look. I would love to believe. I would love to have the amount of faith that it takes to believe that the courts are going to be the last line of defense. But see, everything's backwards. What should be our last line of defense are the police officers and sheriffs. That should be, because there's us over here, and over across the battlefield is the state. Okay? Please understand, the state is always your enemy. The state is never your friend. The state has never been your friend ever. For your entire life, the state has never been your friend. So you're on a battlefield, and on the other side, the opposing force is the state, and then here we are over here, the individuals that hold the origin natural rights. And so between the politicians and us are the enforcement agents. Okay, well, if this was like the Matrix, or this was the Hunger Games, or some dystopian program, then the the enforcement agents owe their allegiance to the state. So you wouldn't be surprised that they were coming to enforce. The problem here is the enforcement agents literally swear an oath to the Constitution. They swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, not uphold and defend the state. The Constitution exists to protect us from the state, from the royalty, from the dictator. That's why it exists. If it doesn't exist to do that, well, what the hell's the point of having a Constitution that lays out these basic natural rights, that says, here's what we have and here's what we're going to do, and here are they: Congress shall make no law. And we have state constitutions that back that up even further. And there's supposed to be all of these checks in between the state and us. The problem is, we're faced with a problem that we need somebody on the other end of the field to interject between the enforcement agents and us, when they should be the last line of defense. The people that swore an oath to the Constitution should be going, okay, well, all right. I mean, I get that they wrote some words down and they voted on it, but it's a clear violation of the natural, God-given, and alienable rights outlined in the Constitution that I swore an oath to, so I'm just not going to enforce it. I mean, they can write laws until they're blue in the face. You know, they can write laws until they pass out, but it's not going to do any good because I'm not going to pull a gun out of my holster and point it at somebody and threaten to kill them if they don't obey. But we have allowed this creep to happen for about 150 years. Now, I'm 44, so I didn't have anything to do with the first 106. Um, but this has been a collective problem over 150 years that we literally went from a place where there are natural and inalienable rights in a Bill of Rights to where back in the 30s, the Supreme Court ruled that if you grew corn for your own pigs, that was interstate commerce and could be regulated. Um, so that's the unfortunate kind of place we find ourselves in. It took them 150 years to lay out the groundwork for the nonsense and the tyranny and the stupidity that they're doing now. But we've been taught in government schools to just go, oh, well, I mean, Franklin Roosevelt and Eisenhower, and I mean these wonderful noble people, and they're dirt bags. They're pieces of human refuse, every single one of them. I mean, except that one guy, I think it was William Henry Harrison, that died like 3 months into his office. He's probably my favorite. But we hold these people up like they're deities. And from Woodrow Wilson on, and including the one that's in there now, they're awful, awful, terrible people. Oh, but we wave their flags and we pray to them and we clap and we reach out to them, and it's disgusting. See, I'm as disgusted by Donald Trump as I was at Barack Obama, as I was at Bill Clinton, as I was of George W. Bush. I don't I don't worship these people because they don't deserve it. And I certainly am not going to um, make excuses for these corporate news organizations that aren't news. They're copy and paste from the state. Oh, well, the state said this. Oh, there it is. We're certainly not going to be journalists and dig into it and say, well, I mean, is that correct? You know, what kind of testing are they doing? And how did that test come about? And of course, then you find people like Kary Mullis that invented the PCR test that said this is not a test to tell you that you're sick. Oh, but yet, oh my God, the case numbers are skyrocketing. Yeah, because they probably slipped some memo out in the middle of the night that raised the assay threshold from 35 up to 45 on the cycle count for the PCR test. And surprise, 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 skyrocketing numbers. Here's the thing. I mean, you may not believe that. I don't care if you do. I do. I believe that it's been manipulated and taken advantage of, and I believe that these people, these experts, are garbage and they're trash and they're all over the world and they're all marching to the beat of the same drum, Build Back Better and the Great Reset. So I'm not going to do it. It's just that simple. I'm not going to participate. I made a decision 10 years ago during the financial crisis that I looked around and I said, I never want to be in this position again. And beginning in 2010, I started down the path to self-employment. And I made a lot of mistakes and I failed miserably and I got back up and I dusted myself off and I'm back in a stronger personal financial position. I can't be canceled. I can't be muzzled. You can't force me to wear a mask. You can't put me in a plexiglass dungeon. You can't do it because I own me. And I'm in a position that I put enough distance, not enough yet. I'm getting there. I'm not very far. I'm very, very, very close to having all the distance that I need, that I don't care what you do, you can't affect me. So can we just start by turning off the news? Okay. Go to WSAZ and WOWK and Fox News and CNN and NBC and just unclick it. Just unfollow it. There's nothing there. Nothing. Nothing. They have nothing to offer you. Hell, they can't even get the weather right. And you think they're going to handle the important work that needs to happen right now? Turn them off. Turn it all off. Turn it off. It'll be the best decision you've ever made. Okay? But Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald and Caitlin Johnston, I mean, there's a whole list. Reason Magazine, the No Agenda podcast, Corey DeAngelis on Twitter. I mean, they're out there and they're working their butts off, and they're being canceled and censored and shut down and fired, but they love the truth. And they take their job of being a journalist serious. So how about you start with being at least willing to ask the question, who benefits? Who benefits? When I open a story and I start to read it, if I sense that it's trying to bend me in one direction or the other to believe something that's not laid out by fact, I don't trust it. Period. So we have the gift. We have the greatest gift in the history of humanity right now in the internet. And even as regulated and as restricted as it is, it's a gift. We have unlimited access to information in 2020. All you got to do, go get a Brave browser. Go download the Brave browser and use DuckDuckGo instead of Google. And go look. It's out there. It's not hard to find. I mean, even in this, I found on Twitter, it escapes me right now, but it was like, it's done by The Atlantic, which is a total left-wing shill. But it's this COVID reporting, and they're like, well, nobody's doing it, so we're doing it. Okay, well, at least they put in all the citations, and you can go to, it'll take you right to the CDC website, and it will show you that how the cases are defined, both probable and confirmed. And of course, they all get lumped into the same number. A probable case is a case, right? So if you're if you're in a group of like 15 people and one person tests positive, that's 15 cases. One test makes 15 cases. Look it up. It's right there in front of you. And it's not hard to find. You don't have to have some super secret access. It's right in front of you. So just do it. Turn it off. Turn it off. It'll be the best decision you've ever made.